Good afternoon, everybody. I am Tilini Mendis from Sri Lanka. I work for National Planning Department under the Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs. This is what I am going to share with you regarding the SDG implementation in Sri Lanka. So, this coming to the National Development Agenda. We have 3 national plans or policies. This is economic policy statement and public investment program. This is the resource allocation for 3 years development priorities and the blue-green budget for 2018. These are the plans, and these plans are supported by government vision. This is 5 development goals and Vision 2025 as well as Vision 2030, and from the other hand our plans are supported by the UN Agenda 2030. So when the new government came to the power in 2015, this new government came with this 5 development goals plan. This is the 5 development goals are generating 1 million employment opportunities, enhancing income levels, development of rural economies, and ensuring land ownership to rural estate sector, middle class, government employees as well, and creating a wide and strong middle class in the country. And this is our macroeconomic targets at glance, what we want to, what we are going to reach by 2020. And when coming to the Sri Lanka commitment to 2030 agenda, what we have done so far for achieving 2030 agenda, first we established a separate ministry for sustainable development. It is the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Wildlife. Recently that regional development sector also added to the ministry, and enactment of the Sustainable Development Act in last year, and a ministerial subcommittee was established, and also advisory board were formulated, and especially I have to mention that Presidential Secretariat has set up a new office of strategic development evaluation, and we mainstreamed that SDGs to strategic planning process in our country, and we expect to achieve this Agenda 2030 in 3 phases of planning. That is phase 1 from 17 to 20, phase 2 from 20 to 25, and phase 3 from 25 to 30. And when I'm talking about the VNR process, it was a very inclusive participatory process. The Ministry of Sustainable Development, first they established a task force to guide VNR process. It was consist of representatives from different ministries and different institutions in the government, and they employed mixed of quantitative and qualitative methods, and they reviewed secondary data as well as primary data. For the secondary data, they used that policy documents such as Vision 2025, public investment policy, which I mentioned earlier also, blue-green budget 2018. And for the primary data gathering, they used that very inclusive participatory process. This multi-stakeholder consultation process was in 2 kinds, national consultation as well as the regional consultation. For the national consultation, they held 3 workshops. 1 workshop on all the 17 goals, on the all 17 goals, and second one for the thematic goals, goal 6, 7, 11, 12, 15 and 17, which was the target goals for the HLPF 2018, and also validation workshop. For the regional level also they had 1 workshop in the process. And as VNR process was a very participatory and inclusive process, we identified that with the purpose of SDG goals, leaving no one behind, that we identified there are 4 groups in the society. So the government sector, civil society, private sector, as well as academia. So there was four levels of engagement. In these 4 levels, we use different tools of engagement. And then next coming to the enabling environment, I am going to talk about how create ownership among the different stakeholders and how the our policies and policies align with SDGs. And first of all, we made the sense of ownership among different stakeholders. So there we did some actions. We took some actions to make ownership among different stakeholders. Those are some measures we have taken to make sense of ownership among stakeholders. 5 levels of participation, multi-stakeholder reference group, and a strategy for public service delivery, and draft handbook which maps SDG implementation responsibilities among 425 statutory agencies, and select committee of parliament on United Nations 2030 agenda, and the consultative committee on sustainable development has also been appointed, consisted or representative from different sectors. And also we have to mention then we get big support from the UN team and ESCAP in the implementation SDGs in Sri Lanka. And this shows how the institutional arrangement in achieving 2030 agenda in the context of Sri Lanka. In the middle, in the focal point, there is the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Wildlife and Regional Development. This is the agency who coordinates the process in the country among all the ministries and all the stakeholders in the country, and as well as the national policies and economic policies also, they are in the middle of this process. And from the left hand side you can see that there is some departments, Department of National Planning, Department of Census and Statistics, Department of Project Management and Monitoring, and Department of National Budget. They have to integrate the SDG to National Development Agenda. From the right hand side you can see that other stakeholder in the process. And I have to mention especially here that we get strong support from the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office. And as National Development, National Planning Department as well as the UN country team, we did assessment or mapping on how far these our existing policies align with the SDG goals. These are the findings what we found. And vertically you can find that 17 goals, and in the middle you can see that targets, and right hand side shows how far those our policies align with the SDG targets.
Minutes, madam. 2 minutes.
Okay. This shows how that our PIP sectors align with the SDG goals. And actually this one I got from the UN team country report that this shows that how our existing policies align with the PPs in SDGs. So we can say that our policies more align with that prosperity and also people, and we are lag behind in the peace and partnerships. And this is means of implementation, how we support achievement of achieving SDGs via promoting financing, and actually we are in far lag in technology, and so capacity building and trade and investment, policy institutional coherence and multi-stakeholder partnership and data and monitoring, how we promote these and in achieving sustainable development goals. And we have some challenges in respect to localization SDGs. By hearing all of the presentation, I feel that we as South region countries, we all face same, more or less same challenges, and we have poor awareness of SDGs in the main purpose, that is leaving no one behind, lack of inter and intra coordination among relevant ministries, and absence of indicators, and introduce SDGs at all level of planning with guidelines, and implementation barriers, that poor awareness, and technological barriers as well as financial barriers. And identifying the source of financing is more critical in our country, and challenges in respect to localization of SDGs. And this is what we have to do. And in the new round, that PIP is a rolling plan. We can add changes in the by year. So in the next round of PIP, prepare incorporating new policies in the vision 2025 and 2030. And we established Sustainable Development Council, and we included one clause in the project submission format by NPD, that when the other ministries present their proposal for the approval, they have to mention how far their proposal align with the SDG goals. And as well as the National Budget Department, they included one clause in their budget call. And development of national targets, and supporting the scoring process, selection of most crucial and influential targets. And we are in the process of developing digital data platform to monitor the progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Tilni Mendes, for highlighting some of the issues which are very important for SDG. I particularly took note of establishment of Ministry of Sustainable Development and Welfare, but also on the alignment between SDGs, National Development Plans, enabling environment, again, and the challenges and the way forward, which are very similar to many other presentations. Now, I think we have come very close to the presentation part, so I'd like to give the floor to this statement on behalf of the South Asian CSOs, Ms. Saila Saeed. Sorry, Ms. Saila Saeed, yeah.
Thank you, Chair and dear moderator, for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the South Asian CSOs. And it was really very critical and inspiring as well to listen to all the government delegations and how all the government in South Asia implementing the SDGs on the ground. So with all your consent, because I'm representing the South and Southwest Asian CSOs here as a sole representative, so I would seek your approval to allow me for 5 minutes to read out our statement.
5 minutes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. So distinguished delegates, the panelists, and my South Asian CSO colleagues and the audience, we are here today actually to address the challenges of empowering people, ensuring inclusiveness and equality in South Asia, which is the theme of HLPF 2019. The complexity of people's lives and realities are reflected in the intersectional nature of the Sustainable Development Goals and how we are aspiring to implement the 2030 Agenda. South Asia is a home to nearly 40% of the world population, yet accounts for less than 10% of world GDP. It is combined with several paradoxes and enigmas, the highest economic growth rates that coexist with the high rates of poverty, inequality, malnutrition, and destruction of natural environment. While we appreciate the progress on implementing the SDGs, we remain concerned by several factors underpinning the implementation of the SDGs at regional and national level. We should not forget the 3 key principles to implement the SDGs, like empowerment, inclusion, and equality. Even as the spirit of the agenda is leaving no one behind, seas of people are being excluded, unseen, and unheard of in this region. We need to address expansion of freedom of choice, equal benefits, sharing of resources, and the decision-making powers of one's life and livelihood, and enormous disparity of opportunity, wealth, and power, especially in this region of South Asia. So therefore, a determined political will is, however, required to expeditiously adopt and implement the 2030 Agenda. We need to maintain the SDGs into national development planning and budgets and reorient growth frameworks to be inclusive, equitable, and promote low-carbon pathways, development pathways towards implementing the SDGs. We also want to draw your attention to a few core issues that communities are facing on the ground in this South Asian region, especially in the hard-to-reach areas. Particularly on Goal 4, it is evident that in South Asia, the best education is really reserved for the poor, for girls, or for children in slum and rural areas, for the indigenous and Dalit community, and also for the refugees. Assessing inequality and exclusion through contextual indicators is prerequisite for decent work and economic growth under Goal 8, and how we can ensure fairness and equal wage in job market, including unemployment. While Goal 10 focuses not only on income inequality, but also on discrimination, disadvantage, and reducing inequality within and between countries. On Goal 13, particularly, we like to reemphasize about and demand that NDCs must ensure active public participation, access to information, consultation, and consent of CSOs and local people. We reiterate our strong opposition to proposals that include agriculture, forests, biodiversity, and other forms of land use in global carbon markets. We also oppose false solutions like carbon capture and storage of geoengineering that undermine the environmental integration